All right. Looks like we have a good group on today. So welcome everybody to Wildlife Paint Night. My name is Jen Christofferson and I am the Alaska Associate for Defenders of Wildlife. With me tonight, I have David Raskin, who's the president of Friends of Alaska Wildlife Refuges, and also our artist, Carrie Becker. We're all excited for you to join us today. So let's see real quick where everyone is from. If you would like to drop where you're from in the chat, just kind of make sure that that chat's working for you. Feel free to do that. And then just as a reminder, again, this event will be recorded. And during the event, we ask that you stay on mute. If you do need to make a comment, you can do that via the chat, or you can raise your hand, which is also a function that you can use. And then I'm going to be monitoring for questions and comments during the event. Let's see, we got some chats already. Okay. Where's everybody from here? So I don't have the emails of everybody who signed up. Usually how we do it, if you want the recording sent to you directly, you'll just have to email me, or you can access it on our Facebook page, because I will post it there once the recording is finished and put together. Looks like we have people from Washington, California, Pennsylvania, Fresno, West Virginia. Okay, wow. Washington, Alaska, California, New Mexico, Colorado. Perfect. Looks like the chat is working. It will be a YouTube video link. As far as posting it on YouTube, we will have a page. How Defenders does it, if it will be like on YouTube, but I don't know if you'll be able to find it. It's kind of weird how they do it. We have our own event page on defenders.org, and that's where you can find it as well. There's several ways to find it. They're a little bit convoluted, but we will definitely get you the recording. Oh, and aloha from Hawaii. Awesome. All right, so for those of you who are unfamiliar with our organization, which is Defenders of Wildlife, I'll give you a short introduction to who we are. We are a national nonprofit organization. We have a local office here in Anchorage, which is where I'm based out of, which is on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina. We are dedicated to the protection of all native animals and plants in their natural communities. And in Alaska, we are working to protect the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the Kenai National Wildlife Refuge, the Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge, the Tongass National Forest, the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska, and other key ecosystems from threats posed by climate change, unsustainable development, and unsound wildlife and habitat policies and management practices. We focus on endangered species, including polar bears and Cook Inlet belugas. So now we'll get started with our paint night, and we'll have, well, I'll introduce our artist and then we'll paint, and then have a short intermission, which we will learn about the importance of Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge, which is what we're painting tonight. And that will be a short presentation by David Raskin, who's here with us tonight. Let me make sure everybody is let in. Here we go before I introduce. Yep. Okay. So Carrie Becker is based out of Eagle River. Her style was developed with influences in realism, post-impressionism, and Hellenistic. She was trained in the fine arts from Brigham Young University in Idaho and graduated with a degree in integrated studio that focuses on in-depth studio work with an emphasis on crossing conceptual and media boundaries. Finding the textures, movement, and shape in nature is Carrie's true passion and inspiration. So now I'll time the turn over to Carrie, and she will get us started.
Hey guys, my name is Carrie. All right, so we're gonna first start off on our palette. We're gonna be painting this background. And we're gonna paint the background really quickly, and then we'll get some dry. I'm gonna turn the time over to our presenter again, and then you'll have an extra couple minutes to paint it. And then we'll, you just need to make sure it's dry by the time he's done speaking. So I have on my palette a bunch of white and some blue, and we're gonna mix that together and kind of make a sky blue. So I like to use the back of my brush sometimes and just kind of mix it in there if I'm doing a big background color. Just mixing it. I want a nice sky blue for the background.
And you're welcome during this time to drop in the chat if we're going too fast or too slow. You can always thumbs up for right on track. Yeah.
Okay. Got a nice big chunk of blue to work from. Some people have already blues mixed together and all that fun stuff, so you're cheating the system. That's okay, we still love you. All right, so these are the colors that you'll need. You'll need the black, blue, white, yellow, green, and brown. So, okay, so we're gonna take our blue, our nice sky blue, and we're gonna start it up at the top. And I like to work in X's. And the reason I like to work in X's is because you're working with a waffle pattern. So the canvas is like a texture like this. And, you know, if you're trying to peanut butter up a waffle, the best way to get it in nice and evenly is to go from side to side. If you go straight down, you're going to miss bubbles and stuff like that. So we like to work it in from the sides. So start up at the top with that sky blue. Some nice X's. Just work it down my canvas. As I get towards the bottom, I'm going to add more dark blue into my canvas. Not quite to that point yet, but about the last third of the painting, I'm going to add in a little bit more dark blue because that's going to be kind of like the deeper waters is kind of what we're going to go for. So have some dark blue on your palette as well. Doing some X's, no fun. Some solid coverage. Okay. So I'm at the point now where I'm going to start already adding in some more dark blue into mine. So I'm just going to take some of this blue and I'm going to mix it towards that sky blue I had. I'm just going to add that in. I'm going to work in more horizontal strokes as my finishing texture because the water is going to go kind of dark stripes across the canvas. So I'm just going to make sure I have my last stroke before I leave an area being side to side. That way we can convey that it's water and it's flat. Even more dark blue. That's right. Last little part, I'm going to make sure it's really nice dark blue. Side strokes. Okay, I like that. And we'll leave you guys to that to paint up the rest of that and make sure it's dry before we finish, before Mr. Raskin, sorry, finishes his speech. Okay, so go ahead and use your blow dryers as soon as you're done and get it nice and dry so we can do the next part. Okay, thanks, folks.
So we will, I'm kind of watching, we have a painter here in the room, so I'm kind of watching to see what time wise. Give me a thumbs up if you are completely painted with your canvas, just so I know what kind of time we're sitting on here. Or you can drop in the chat. I just want to get most people finished painting and then drying. Let me see. All right, well, maybe David will have you start. So David Raskin is going to be sharing his screen, and he's going to be talking about Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge, which is the landscape that we are painting tonight. So go ahead, David, and I will let you know if I can see your PowerPoint and everything okay.
Oh, let's see if I can now find it.
That's always the trick. There we
yeah,
go.
Yeah, I'm actually.
You're
There
on.
we go. There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Great. Well, my name is David Raskin. I'm the president of the Friends of Alaska National Wildlife Refuges. And we work with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and our mission is to help them to implement their programs to preserve and protect the wonderful national wildlife refuges that we have in Alaska. Next slide shows the map of Alaska. We have 16 national wildlife refuges in Alaska, and these refuges comprise 77 million acres, which is over 80% of the national wildlife refuges in the United States. And we work with all of these refuges, and you can see here is Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge. The one you're painting, it's out at the end of the Alaska Peninsula, right where the Aleutian Islands start. It is our smallest refuge. It's 335,000 acres, which is larger than just about anything in the lower 48. Compared to the Arctic up here, which is over 20 million acres, it's very small, but a very special refuge. This refuge was established in 1960 as Eisenbeck National Wildlife Range during the Eisenhower administration. In 1980, it was redesignated as Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge under the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act. And this then established a huge number of refuges and national parks in Alaska, including Eisenbeck. And in 1980, wilderness was established on Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge. It is congressionally designated wilderness. And this map shows Eisenbeck Refuge. And you can see that the gray areas are the designated wilderness. This is congressionally designated, can only be changed by an act of Congress. And if we look at this refuge, some of the major features is it is located at Cold Bay. Whoop. And this is the town of Cold Bay here, where it's administered. And this is Cold Bay that comes in off the Bering Sea, off the North Pacific, that is. Rather, the Bering Sea is on the other side. And Eisenbeck has these huge lagoons, or two lagoons, but Eisenbeck Lagoon is a major feature. It contains probably the largest eel grass beds in the world. And these eel grass beds are extremely important for the birds that use this refuge. So if we look at the refuge itself and its purposes are to conserve fish and wildlife and their habitats. And this refuge has an enormous amount of fish, various species of salmon and other fishes, and also has a lot of iconic mammals. You see here a picture of a brown bear, big grizzly bears that feed on the salmon and other things. They are magnificent animals. The refuge provides opportunities for subsistence people who live off the land and its resources, especially native villages and people who have, the indigenous people who have been there for thousands of years. And the other purpose is to ensure water quality and quantity. So this is a very special area. This next slide shows some images. The refuge is populated by waterfowl, shorebirds, and waterbirds from all over the Arctic, and they funnel through this refuge each fall on their way to winter destinations. Here you see the Pacific black brant, a close-up of this small goose, and also you can see in the right-hand slide image of the magnificent numbers of brant when they're migrating through. It is a spectacular sight. And more than 98% of the world's Pacific black brant converge on Eisenbeck Lagoon in the fall to feed on the eel grass beds, which sustain them for their migration down to Baja California for the winter. So this is a very, very important refuge for the sustenance of shorebirds and shorebirds and geese and so on. And the Friends of Alaska National Wildlife Refuges take part in protecting these. I'm going to go back now and show you again this map. And by the way, Eisenbeck was designated in 1986 by President Reagan as a Ramsar site, which is the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands of International Significance for birds and so on. And that's one of the major features of the Izembek Refuge. So if we look at the refuge here now, you can see that there is a hatched line that goes like this through the refuge. This is a proposed road to be built through the Eisenbeck wilderness that would severely damage its environmental values, its values for birds and wildlife, and has been a source of controversy for almost 40 years. And currently it is under litigation because the administration under President Trump did a land exchange to enable that road. And then there's now a battle about using it as an in-holding to try to build that road. And the Friends of Alaska National Wildlife Refuges are the lead plaintiff in 2 lawsuits that have protected that by the federal district court decisions, but the second one is now on appeal in the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. Defenders of Wildlife is a co-plaintiff on this, as well as many other national environmental organizations. But the Friends of Alaska National Wildlife Refuges are the only totally Alaska group that is involved in these issues. So I think maybe I could pause at this point and answer questions. If people have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I don't have the chat up, so maybe I should leave my slides up, and if somebody could look in the chat and see if there are questions and read them to me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I'm checking right now, David. I don't see any questions so far in the chat. If you did want to learn more about the Eisenbeck Refuge, you can email David, or you can email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat for people. Oh, here's one. How can someone visit Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge?
There are 2 ways to get there. One is to fly. So you fly from Anchorage, Alaska to Cold Bay. And the other is to take the Alaska Marine Highway System, take the ferry, which leaves from Homer, Alaska, and other ports in Kodiak and other places. But it's a marvelous trip. We took that trip a few years ago, my wife and I, and spent 5 days on the refuge. So you go from Homer to Kodiak, and then you go out along the Alaska Peninsula and finally to Cold Bay. So what you can do is you can take the ferry system there and you can fly back, or vice versa, or fly both ways, or do ferry both ways. It's a magnificent trip. And also on the ferry, you'll just see an amazing number of birds. The Maritime Refuge that you go through has over 40 million seabirds, more than the rest of North America combined. And I would also add that if you want to contact me and find out more about these things, there are 2 ways. I've put on there our website, AlaskaRefugeFriends.org, and you can log on and see what we do and hopefully maybe join with us. And also you can read our newsletter, which comes out every month and it has a lot of information about what we do, our volunteer projects, and also the state of threats to the refuges and litigation. So you can do it that way. And you can also contact me through our website. All you have to do is click on me. My address is there through the website, and I would be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, David. We do have another question. What was the purpose of the land exchange?
Purpose of the land exchange, well, initially it was to transport fish. King Cove, Alaska, which is right next to the refuge, is a village of several thousand people and is the largest cannery in Alaska, one of the largest in the world. And it was originally proposed to build this road to Cold Bay, which has an all-weather airport and huge airport, to fly fish products out of Cold Bay, which would then severely damage the refuge. And this is what started the battle. Now the battle is over. Changed. The people of King Cove claim that they need it for medevac purposes because of bad weather, although the government gave them $37.5 million to solve that problem with a hovercraft, but then they abandoned that because they simply want that road. They have pretended that it's for medical purposes, but it's really to transport fish and cannery workers.
Perfect. Thanks, David. We have a couple questions that are like, is there anything I can sign to help protect it? If there's links, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat for us, David.
What you should do is just go to our AlaskaRefugeFriends.org website, and then you can find out everything you want. And if you join us, you'll get all of our stuff. But even if you don't, all the information is there.
Yeah, and that's the same with Defenders. If you join, when there's things that are put out, like petitions to sign or anything, that's when like you'll get notified if you sign up with us. It's just the same as Friends of Alaska National Wildlife Refuges.
Yeah, we work closely with Defenders, very closely. Nicole Whittington, the Alaska director, and I have been working together for many years.
Perfect. Well, thank you, David, for your time tonight. And if there is any more questions after you've left, I can always capture them and send via email, or they can send them directly to you. If you want to stop screen sharing, we'll turn the time back over to our artist, Carrie, and we will continue on painting our landscape.
There we go. Thank you very much for your attention, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, David.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, I am spotlighting Carrie's screen again. And Carrie, you're good to take it away. Hopefully everybody's canvases are dry.
All right, so we're gonna be taking our chalk, or if you have a pencil, you can also utilize that. I like chalk because it's really easy to get off and you don't have to worry about painting over it as much. So I'm going to use my chalk and I'm going to outline where I want my mountains to be. I think it looks ideal if it's not quite to the top, but you want the first top of your mountain to be kind of like just in the top third. You're just going to kind of draw out what you want your mountain to look like, do some ridges. And my first mountain's going to be in front, so I'm going to put one back behind, kind of like that. And the one, I can't remember, the original painting I did, it was based off a volcano that's in Eisenberg. Eisenbeck Refuge. So you can also do whatever you feel like you're wanting to do for your mountain. Just feel it out. I just used a wet paintbrush to get rid of my chalk for a second and redo it. So that's what you saw me do. You can also do it with like a slightly damp washcloth, but you can do lots of different shapes. So I'm going to do this one. Okay. So just to kind of show you the advantages of chalk, you can kind of just recorrect a lot easier than you can with if you did it with pencil.
I was just gonna remind everybody what they're painting in case they forgot.
Yeah, so you can do that. Perfect. That. So, all right, so we'll give you a second to figure out those mountains and lay those out in whatever you like. I'm just going to play around with it a little bit so I don't move on too quickly for you guys.
And just remember to not scrub too hard if you're.
Yeah, don't.
If you
We're gonna
scrub too
paint
hard,
over this section, but don't scrub too hard at your sky because you wanna.
they'll scrub the paint
It'll
off.
scrub the paint off if you really get in there.
Oh, they were wondering they want to see the painting again.
Okay, sure.
I spotlighted you, so I'll have you show it.
I like that.
And if you wanted to see the painting, it is also in that sign up that you signed up for that had the paint supply list, a little version.
A little PDF version of it. Okay, move it up there.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. All right. All right, so we're gonna be also drawing with our chalk here in a second, so don't throw it away quite yet, okay? So we're gonna take our next size brush down from that big one that we painted the background with. That's this size for me. It's about 1.5 inches-ish, I guess. And we're gonna take our dark blue and we're just gonna paint inside the lines of our chalk. And you're just gonna do the whole thing and then dry it off real quick, and so that you have your nice dark blue background, okay? So go ahead and follow along and paint in that dark blue, okay? And you don't need to paint it all the way to the bottom. We're just gonna paint just to the bottom of our mountains, okay? With that dark blue. Also, a pro tip, if you dip your brushes in water before you start painting, like at the beginning of the painting, it actually keeps the life longer because the medium is going to naturally soak up into the, I forget what the name of this part is, but the metal part of your brush. If you don't add water first, it's going to be the medium that gets up in that area. Whereas if you dip it in water first, that's what you're dealing with and that's what you're taking out of it instead. So it's a lot easier to clean. Good brush health tip, just to keep it nice. Okay.
All right, and feel free to drop in the chat if we're going too fast or if you're right on. Also, we'd love to know if we have return painters who have joined our events before. So if you have a second, drop in the chat and say if you've joined and what paint night you joined, because I'd be interested to know if we have some returnees. Oh, awesome. Third paint, sea otter and sea otter habitat. Oh, perfect. So you have like the sea otter deluxe collection. Awesome. Polar bear. I loved the polar bear paint
fun.
night.
I loved doing the northern lights.
The northern lights. Yep. And these past recordings, if you're like, what, I want to paint a polar bear, we do have them online. on Defender's website. Let me try to think of how many paint nights we've done. The link that I just dropped in the chat, that has a link to all the ones that we've recorded. There was one paint night that wasn't able to record due to some kind of weird problem with the cosmic computer world. So that was the Brown Bear paint night. That's the only one that's missing. We did belugas. We've done brown bear. Oh, the wolf, Alexander Archipelago wolf. We did a sea otter, polar bear, sea otter habitat, and then this is our Eisenbeck. And we will have some more coming up.
Okay. Just get a head count on how everyone's doing with their mountains. Give a thumbs up if you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, go ahead and try to use that reaction button down below so I know if we need more time or if we can move on. Looks like people are still painting. Your mountains don't have to be perfect, remember, they're rugged.
Yep. And they
Still
don't-
painting,
They
okay.
don't have to look exactly like anything. They're your own mountains.
Mhm. Probably another minute or two for the mountains, if that works.
Is that what the thumbs ups are saying?
There's only been
Couple.
a couple, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's okay if
Would they
you're.
feel better if they saw mine?
Yeah, we got a couple artists here in the room. They're like, man, mine does not look like hers. It's okay, no one's, I mean, they're mountains.
They're
So
individual.
At least
to
the
every
artist
person.
can't see yours.
No,
that's true.
I love every type of.
All right, so it looks like we've got a couple thumbs up, so we can probably move
All
on.
right. Next part we're gonna do is we're gonna take our chalk again, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our highlight side and our dark side. So we're gonna separate them out. I like to start with my biggest mountain and get some confidence from there. So you're just gonna do some zigzags, just kind of feel your way around it. It doesn't really matter what it looks like in the sense of like anything you're gonna do, you're gonna make it look like how it's supposed to. So zigzags, it doesn't matter where they go. You just kind of want to make them, this is going to be the ridge. And so it just follows down. You'll paint on one half of it. You're going to do our lighter color. And I like to have my sunshine in this painting coming from my right side. So all this stuff I'm going to paint with my lighter color. And so just keeping that in mind when you're dividing things up. So up here in this little doodad is going to be light. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Gonna make a ridge right there, and that's gonna be light, and that's all gonna be light. I'm gonna leave this part dark though, because that's my shadow. So just kind of think of it as if the light was right here, where would it be hitting my mountains at? So at the top here, you could do a little doodad right here, and you paint just a little bit of white right there, or the lighter color that we're gonna have. And just, it's all gonna be individual. I know that the light's gonna follow this mountain because this one's the front mountain. So I'm just gonna mark that with my chalk to remind myself to paint this light color up the top. Okay. So I'll give you guys a second to do that. Don't be intimidated. I know it looks weird, but as soon as you put paint on, it's gonna feel, and you'll be painting this, you'll be like, it looks weird, it looks weird, it looks weird. And then you'll paint this all bottom stuff and it'll work. Because your brain, while you're painting it, it's not seeing the full picture. So don't worry, it's gonna come together. Just trust me. So I'll give you a second to do that.
Probably.
Okay. Cool. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna be adding in the highlights. So for my highlights, I like to take just a little bit of blue and my white, and I add in a little bit of green or yellow. just to get like just a little hint of the green, because they've got greenery on the mountain. So you want to add just a little bit just to make it a little different from the sky. So we're going to add that in. Let's see. Now, okay, so kind of like that color right about there. So it's just a mix of my dark blue, my white, and my green. And if you don't have green, you can also use yellow. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my top. I'm going to paint on just the other side of my line, making sure not to cross over. And I want to make sure if I have like a divot here or like here that I'm not painting over my shadow of that. So like I'll leave that one right there, and I'll just paint my way down with my greenish white. You can add in a little bit more white if it's a hotter highlight. It's like right next to it. And you just you can leave it a little bit streaky. You kind of want to move in the way the mountain would move. So like I don't want to paint side to side like this with my final strokes, because I want to make sure it looks like the mountain's moving down. Okay. We'll meander our way through that, and we'll just check in with you in just a couple minutes. So make sure to leave some blue on there. Okay. You don't want to paint all other things highlights as well.
And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you're like, whoa, what colors did you mix again? I think those colors were blue, white, and green. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just fixing an edge because I realized I left a little bit of white showing. So just so you know, that's why I'm going back in with my dark blue. I don't want to freak anyone out. I'm fixing.
Yeah. And then we have mountains floating in the mist.
Yes.
Mist.
Yeah.
I can't say mist. If you're done painting and you have a second, feel free to drop in the chat how many people you're painting with tonight, just so we kind of have an idea of how many people are out there. 2, okay.
All right, just make sure it's dry. We're gonna start the next part in a second, okay?
So have like a minute to blow dry or
Minute or
something?
so to blow dry. All righty, guys, we're next gonna be using our green, black, yellow, and brown. Okay, so you can go ahead and load those up on the palette. And
What colors?
so we're gonna do green, yellow, black, and brown next. And we're gonna first be painting kind of a block so we can see, because we want to create a block at the bottom of the mountains to kind of cover it up, and then we'll do details. So we're gonna do just take your green and just kind of block out the bottom of the mountains. And the way I like to think of it is about a little bit more than halfway is going to be the back darker forest. So right through here. So I'm going to just use my dark green and just kind of block that out, and just a big straight line pretty much. We'll add details to it in a second. But we just are covering up that blue line that we created when we did the bottom of our mountains. Okay, we do that. And right through there. Okay, so that's my our darker area. And your next block we're going to do is going to be in front of that. And what we're going to do is do the green, and we're just going to add a touch of our yellow, just a little bit. Okay, you don't need it all that much greener, just a look, or that much brighter. We just want a little bit brighter. So just covering that up. I'm just going to make it into like the shape of a bank of an ocean, or like, and we're just going to cover up the edge of where our darker was. So kind of cover it and come down. Doing that lighter yellow, covering it and coming down. So you can see a difference between the two colors. So this is darker, this is going to be lighter. So just so you know kind of what we're dealing with. So it kind of looks like a finger, like just a finger coming out, and it can be straight on the top for now. And we're just making sure we can't see the end of those mountains. Okay.
Did you mix the green?
I mixed the green with yellow. I did not mix my own green. I had a sage green on the list for, sorry, I have a sage green that I have. You can make your own green. I think it was on the list for having your own green.
I think so.
Yeah. But you can make green. It's just yellow and blue. It's just pretty easy. And then you can have it match with everything. So. Okay, and we'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that, and then you'll also be drying that section. So go ahead and paint that and dry that, and we'll give you about 5 minutes to do that. Okay.
Oh, I meant my green isn't dark. Did you add another color to it? Oh, to get it to the darker.
You can add a little bit of black to it if it's not quite a dark green enough for you. Most blacks are blue based in color, so it mixes pretty well with green to make a darker green.
Good questions.
Good job. Yeah. Sorry, I work down in size typically. So this is my flat brush. So I'm sorry, I didn't show them at the beginning of the video like I typically do. So right now we're using this brush right here, this yellow one, which is my flat square brush. But I find that most times people find what works best for them Some people like filbert brushes, which is kind of like a square brush, but it's kind of rounded like that. Whatever kind of works for you to get the block out of the shape. The only one really today that we really need to like, you're gonna need is really a pencil brush to get the trees in, and a fan brush to get the grass. Those are really the only really more specific brushes you're gonna need for this painting. Otherwise, it's just whatever you feel comfortable blocking in the color with, because it's more of an impressionistic landscape. All right, you guys, just checking in, make sure that you're got it dry. All right, so we'll give you 1 minute to dry it real quick, okay? Unless I get a bunch of thumbs up that we're good.
Yeah, feel free to keep doing those thumbs up so we can kind of see if we're moving at the right pace or not, or if we need to slow down.
Alrighty, guys, our next portion we're going to be going over what we painted, and we're going to be doing on this back portion first, and then we'll move up to this front section. So I'm going to take my green and I'm going to add a little bit of black to it, just to make it a little bit darker, a little shady of a forest. And I start over here in this back corner, and I want it to be nice and dark. So it's about that darkness. I'm gonna go back in this corner, and I'm just gonna kind of flick my brush, my flat brush. I'm gonna flick it up a little bit, and you don't need to go way high. You're just gonna go just little tiny brushes over where you did before, and then we'll go in with the round brush on these closer trees and make it look more real. But these back ones, you just need to go just a little bit above that line. You don't want to go too high up into your mountains, okay? And you just paint that whole area, that darker brown, and just kind of, let me paint, I'm going to paint over here real quick so you guys can see, because it's probably pretty hard to see the dark on dark. So I'm kind of going like this and just flicking it up. I'm using the brush flat. That way it creates that ridge, okay? And I just want to, just a little bit of trees. You kind of make it irregular. We want to just make it so it's not a flat line. And then when we put the details on these trees up here, your eye will assume that these shapes and will imply that these shapes and these shapes are the same. So it's kind of a hack of your eye. Your eye just makes a lot of generalizations, which we can, as painters, utilize. So we'll let you guys do that back section and just kind of fling it up a little bit. You can make some once in a while an area that's a little bit taller, but go back down to just being just a little bit above, okay? We have tall trees in the forest, we have little trees, and we love all the trees. All right.
All the trees are happy.
All the trees are happy, happy little trees. All right, just painting along.
Are we going all the way through that area?
Yeah, we're gonna go through that whole back area all the way to the edge of our painting with that darker green. Just breaking up that nice straight line that we had made before. All right.
That's cool.
Just like that. Okay, so I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that and catch up, and we'll be checking back in at about, let's say 3 minutes, because it's a small area, so it shouldn't take too long to do.
And feel free to give a thumbs up if you finish before then, so we can evaluate time.
All righty, guys, we're next going to be doing this section of trees here on this, and you'll need your yellow and your green. So if you're running out, I'd add a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to be using my pencil brush for this portion, just to get a little bit more detailed trees. If you feel comfortable doing the trees in the flat brush, you can do that as well if you really fell in love with your technique back here. But I'm just going to be making a little bit lighter of a yellow green. And I like to start from the bottom and kind of feel where the trees are going to end up. I don't want them to end up directly at the same height as my mountain, because it makes an awkward space. So I'll go typically a little bit above it up here, and then I'll make the trees a little bit smaller as they get to the coastline. So I did a straight line, and then my next portion that I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little tad bit out on one side and kind of go a little tad bit out on the other. You can make it just like a little awkward tree at the top, kind of like that. And just giving that little extra information on there, you kind of wiggle the brush back and forth and just let the brush kind of decide what your mountains look like, or your trees, not your mountains. I'm looking at the mountains. You kind of wiggle it back and forth, and you're kind of working in a zigzag pattern. So I'll show you a little bit bigger here. So I'm kind of going straight down, and then I kind of doop, doop, doop. And I don't want to make it even on each side like a Christmas tree. I kind of want to just make it a little different per stroke, like kind of like that. And see how my brush went, kind of like this. Just kind of random, and it just from far off, you're seeing just the major brushes, the major bunches. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Of the Christmas tree or the evergreen tree, and it kind of makes a cool effect where it's not super detailed, but you get the effect. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do a couple straight lines, and then if I see a nice tall tree, I'll go in and I'll squiggle it, and then I'll just have a baseline up here again, and then I'll do another one. Doesn't have to be every single tree has that highlighted part where you can see all the details. Just once in a while, you'll just pop in real quick and do a little extra. We'll give it a little pizzazz every once in a while. And then I'm just going to work smaller the closer I get to the shoreline. Just some random squiggles. And the pencil brush is nice because it feels more like a pencil. So you're more, at least I feel more comfortable with it when I first started painting. It felt more familiar, not so awkward. I'm just going in and making sure I can't see that big line of blue through mine. So I'm just adding some extra paint down here to confuse it a little bit. We'll just go through. That's yellow. Water. Just kind of. And I'm kind of creating a little bit of difference. So like if I did darker over here, I'm adding some lighter areas, and then I'll go back in, I'll make a tree lighter or taller. Just kind of going back and forth. You get to play around with it. So we'll give you about, say about 7 or 8 minutes to do that, because people get a little, like you fiddle around with the trees a little bit. So give you a little bit of time with that. Go ahead.
And just for those of you who haven't joined us before, at the end, in about, 50 minutes, we will be allowing or asking everybody if they want to turn on their videos and show us their paintings, because we love seeing everybody's paintings. It's really fun.
That's so much cool to see.
And then if you can also take a photo of your painting and send it to my email address, and I can post it on social media and just show off everybody's artwork and say, hey, we had a good time. We're going to be doing more. Join us, and this is what you can do. So just kind of a heads up if you want to be prepared at the end of this to show your painting.
All right, just giving you a minute's warning, just dry it off and we can move on to the next step. All right, guys, for the next portion, we're gonna be using our green, yellow, and brown. And this is what's gonna create our marsh area, or marshy
Lagoon.
lagoon. That's the word. The lagoon area where the grass is filling in. Because it's so far away, you can't see all the pools of water. So we're just gonna be doing our flat brush again and doing about a section of grassy bit about the section of my brush thickness. You're gonna mix the brown and the yellow, and then add about just a little hint of green in there just to tie it in. So kind of like a really brought down
Split pea soup.
split piece.
That's what it looks
Ew,
like.
gross. Yeah, yep. All right, and we're just gonna do a strip of color. Cross like that. And if you found that you made your forest too big or anything like that, you can cut into it and cut on top of it. That way you have lots of water, because this is a really fun part to do the water and make your own little lagoon waters where all the birds like to swim and such. Okay, so just painting that line. And it's okay if you have a variance in color. It actually will help you a little bit, because not all the grass is at the same stage of growth and all that fun stuff. So, all right, so I painted that back section. I'm going to drop down about the same section that I did for the finger of forest. We're just going to drop that down and kind of go out a little bit like that and paint about that same thickness that I did for this back right in front of these trees, okay? But it doesn't have to be exact because every lagoon is going to be a little bit different. So,
And as David Raskin was saying, these lagoons are some of the most vitally important habitat areas for the black-brand geese and so many other migratory birds.
alrighty. So the next portion that I'm gonna do on mine is I'm just gonna do another finger out right here. I'm gonna stop about halfway through there. Just kind of make just to give some extra texture. So I have like 3 different levels of grass in mine, right about there. So I'm just gonna go in, I'm gonna fill in some of these edges and add like some different coloring into mine. So I just want to create a little bit of, so I'll add yellow in certain sections, just make it a little bit different from cove to cove. So you want to just add, you don't want it to be all one single color. You just kind of want to create a little bit more interest. So give you guys about 5 minutes to kind of mess with that and just play around. Nice and easy, nothing too. All right, you guys, next portion is we're gonna do our lagoon little islands, okay? And we're gonna pick, we're gonna do the same color we did here, but add a little bit more green. So this can be any way you would like to paint your islands. I thought it was really cool to do an island coming over here and then one over here. So, but if your painting is like not the exact same as mine, you can make like a big island over here. It's kind of whatever floats your boat. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more green to that mixture than we had before. And still that yellow and the brown are still going to be present in it. Okay. And I'm going to make mine kind of coming off this one. And right now I'm just painting the blocky section. I want to leave the water still visible so I know it's connected. Just a helpful little thing. And I just want to get the main section of what I want down so that when we do our grass, you're going to add another color on top of this. So then it adds thickness to it. Okay. And you can do that same finger island type thing, kind of top like that. So it adds into the water. And so that's one. I'm going to do another one here on mine. And I want this one to go into this corner. So I'm just going to paint it into this corner so it looks like it's coming off the page, essentially. And then my last one, I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to do another one right over here. Okay, well, my last one I'm going to do right through here. Okay, just kind of like that. Those are going to be my little islands of grass. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of color down at the bottom too. Just, I'm not making it super even or anything. I'm just kind of like fluffing it up so that when I add my band brush in, I have a little bit darker contrast right through there. Okay. So give you guys about till 5:30. Give you about 5 minutes to add those in, and just you kind of want to make it not so see-through is that what this first coloring is doing. So you're just figuring out where you want your patches and adding it in so it's a little bit thicker. Okay, and we'll let you guys do that.
Okay.
All righty. So we're going to be using our fan brush this next portion, and we're going to be using that same color that we just mixed for these little spots of land. Get my paintbrush wet.
If they don't have a fan brush, what is the next closest thing?
If you know the really cheap brushes from like Home Depot or whatever, like those they're like brown handles and they're very
Oh
cheap.
yeah.
You can cut off one section of it. So like I adapt them all the time. So say if this was like that cheap brown one, you can divide it down the center and cut off one side of it, and it will create more like broken apart parts essentially. You can utilize that. You can do it with a pencil brush kind of ish. It's not as great. Just find the rattiest brush you have, I guess is what I would say. And utilize this. This fan brush has been through a lot, and so that's why it makes really good grass. I beat it to heck. So old paintbrushes are always useful. So I hope that answers the question. So we're going to take that color that we have on our fan brush, and we're going to go on this back wall of oh my gosh, I think grass, and we're going to brush up just ever so slightly and just create those grass stalks. like that. And then you're also going to brush down. So I did that section. I'm also going to brush down ever so slightly into my my blue. And what that is it's going to be the reflection in the water. Okay. So you don't have to go very far, just a little bit. And so it just creates just a little bit of interest on the edge of that painting. So go like that. All right. So that's a section that I would consider like, so I'm going to show you the next method. And then, so I would do that across that whole ledge. And then I'm going to take my black on my fan brush and just tap it in the center of those two things.
What's the colors that you're using?
So it was the same color as this green color that I had down over here.
In the bottom of the painting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just add in some brown to make that brown and black to make that little ridge line in here. And what that is that's the shadow of where the reed and the water meet. You just kind of tap it in there. Just ever so slightly. Just doop, doop. It just makes it ever so slightly darker. And so you kind of can see the line. And just brush it up. And down. Okay. And you just work your way across this back one. Just gonna brush down and down. And you can vary the color a little bit across the thing because not all the grass is going to reflect the exact same color. So just brushing up and down. And then I'll hit it with the center part kind of as I go so that I know that I covered it. So, all right, so we'll be doing this. This is probably one of the more tedious things to do. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes or so to do that. And you're going to go along this back ledge and this the front ledges of this, the front ledges of each of your things. And then we'll go through and we'll do the back part of it here in a bit. Okay. I'm just adding a little, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit more brown to these front ones, just so it can be seen a little bit more. So brown and yellow, just kind of mixing together to give you some little bit more highlight. Anyway, so just so you know what I'm doing. All right, guys, we're gonna clean off our brushes without that brown, and we're gonna be working on the back of these areas. So we're gonna do a mix of very similar to what we had here. So it's gonna be the yellow again and the green with a little bit of brown. And I just add a little bit of extra yellow just to kind of create a little bit of a highlight. And we're just gonna do very light brushes up through, and you just kind of want to layer going back through the painting, and you're just gonna create just some interesting textures on those land pieces. Okay, I like that. Just kind of break up this nice solidness. Okay, you just go through all your different pieces and just typically working from the back of the landing up to the front works best. Okay. All righty. Okay. And then I had this little section down here. I'm just going to add just those brush strokes to that. So if you did that, you can do that below with me. All right, I'll give you about 5 minutes to do that portion, and then we'll cycle back. We're almost done. All righty, guys, you're gonna take your fan brush that's nice and cleaned off, and you're gonna go pretty much straight into your green and with your yellow. So you want a nice bright green yellow, and you don't want to mix it too thoroughly because we're gonna be doing our eel grass, which has lots of different textures and colors. So I have my fan brush, and I'm gonna I tap to get mine. I kind of tap it a little bit towards a person. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of tapping it like this towards a flat, clean area where I can clean it up. And what it does is it separates out these pieces, so I can get sections like that. Okay. Now your brush might act differently, and you can also do this. It's going to be more tedious, but you can do it with your pencil brush and just go in. But we're going to make a kind of sideways movement, and then they kind of come back and they flow with the water. So we're just going to lightly brush her against, and we're just going to lightly go with some flow. And we're just like that. And you can and then you'll kind of let that dry, and then you can go on with a darker green and do the same thing. So we're going to let you guys do that, and it's just very lightly done. It's not a heavy area, and it's just some light eel grass through our closer area. Okay, let you guys do that and fiddle around with that. It's going to take a little bit, and you can practice on the back of something else if you would like, because it does take a very light hand to do. Maybe you need to practice and do it with the other brush. So I'm going to show you how to do it with this one real quick. So I loaded up with a brush with the same color. I'm just going to go in and kind of do some lines very much in the same direction. They're going to be a little bit thicker, but we work with what we got, right? Let's kind of do one over here. So this. I like that. Okay, give you guys about a minute or two to do that. It's just a couple brush strokes, so it shouldn't take too long to do. All righty, hopefully that went smoothly for you all. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. The next part we're gonna do is we're gonna take our fan brush and we're gonna do the clouds. And the clouds, I like to have a light touch with. Oh, there's a specific name for the type of clouds we're gonna do. But they're kind of more wispy. And you just kind of take your fan brush and you just put it down and then flip it up. So we're gonna do that a couple times. And just kind of, you can make it a little more dense in some areas by tapping the brush, but it's gonna kind of fly away. It's very wispy in our nature of these clouds that were on that particular day. And I'm gonna do another one right here. And just kind of let the brush collapse on itself to make the unpredictable shapes. We want unpredictable, like clouds. So just twist up.
It's just hard to see.
Oh, I can't see. What if I
I wonder if
turned
it's
it
too
off?
bright. Yeah.
What about
There-
that? Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we'll turn off the light.
Not that.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Okay.
better.
All right. So
That way you
just
can see the clouds.
thank you for letting us know. So I'm just kind of pushing down and just flinging upwards. So I'm pushing down, letting it kind of collapse on itself and pushing up. Okay, my clouds. And it's nice to have the clouds going off camera or off canvas to create some depth. Just kind of letting it be its own thing, okay? Give you guys some time to do that.
And then what about the chalk line on the mountains?
We'll work it out in a second.
Okay.
I thought you said all right. All right. And now I'm going to mix myself a little bit of a light gray. And just go in on those thicker portions that we did. And just judge on where yours is thickest. So that's my light gray. So it's just barely up above a white. I'm just going to hit the bottom part of those. So just so I see that this part was thicker right here. So I'm just going to hit the bottom right there. And just right there, and then be done. So little boop, 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 like that. Okay. And your clouds are done. Okay. So the next portion that we need is to be very dry so we can get all the chalk off. So hit it with a blow dryer and get it really dry once you're done with your clouds, okay? All right, and then I'm just gonna take a damp paper towel. And I'm gonna wipe up those track marks with my damp paper towel. Don't scrub or anything. I'm just gonna take those track lines off the mountains. Once everything, you want everything super dry. So that's our main concern, and that's why we wanted to finish the painting before we did this, is because we wanted to make sure we were all done and all dry before we clean it up. Okay, just like that. And then you're gonna sign your piece down at the bottom, and then you're done. So,
All right, and we're right at 6 o'clock. If anybody would like to, we would love to see you turn on your camera and show your painting. I'm gonna turn it on gallery view and stop highlighting the spotlight. And then no matter where you are, like, we would just love to see everybody's painting.
oh man, it'd be so cool.
So
I love seeing everyone.
you guys are pretty shy tonight, so hopefully you'll show us your painting. Oh,
Alright.
perfect. Okay. Oh, yeah. Flip. Oh, look at this one. Wendy's is beautiful.
Oh, wow. Such a good job. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud.
Haley's. Oh,
Wow,
awesome.
it looks so
Sherry's. Look at
good.
Sherry's.
Wow, you
This is
guys
awesome.
are so impressive. I am so impressed. Wow. That's
Oh, look,
amazing.
there's like,
Wow, there's so many people. Oh my gosh.
It's
Oh,
like this
I love
family.
it. It looks so good.
oh, so cool. Oh, a family of mountains.
Oh my gosh, look at all those mountains.
Oh, I love it.
Ooh, I love that eel grass.
You could put them all together and it would be a landscape view.
Looks so
Oh,
good.
Beverly's. Oh, Sarah's.
Impressive.
Awesome.
You guys are very good. Oh my gosh.
And I would love for anybody to send me via my email, which I'm dropping in the chat, a photo of their painting if they don't mind me using it for social media. That would be so great.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Such talented people. I am impressed.
You're so kind.
I love the variety of mountains we got going on too. It's awesome.
Also, send me an email if you want the recording sent directly to you. And I can do that. Just put a little note in the email. Oh, these are. You even painted some.
Oh, some swamps.
Are they the black brants? The geese? Maybe.
Look
That's so
like it.
cool,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Good
Love it.
job.
Wendy, look at Wendy's. Sherry's. Man,
Some very talented people.
this is
I'm very
great.
impressed.
That's good. You're very good at making us comfortable.
Oh, I'm glad.
I hope so, because Loch Ness Monster. That's awesome. Okay, but,
We're in a zoomed out. Hey, I mean,
Nessie's in Eisenbeck.
a lot of people go missing in Alaska. I'm not saying what
Ooh,
happens
Look
to
at
them,
Sandra's.
but
Oh, that's
oh my gosh,
beautiful.
it looks so. Is that a watercolor?
Sandra, is that watercolor?
Just nod.
Or
Can you
come,
nod,
you can
Sandra?
come off mute too.
Looks really good.
Yeah, that's watercolor. I knew you were
Really
doing
good.
with acrylics, but I've been trying to learn watercolors these days.
Nice, good job. And
Oh, thank you.
teaching the style, you had to infer a lot to figure that out because I did not.
I'm gonna turn on video so you guys can
Yeah,
actually.
it was hard because I
Oh.
couldn't save the lights.
Hey guys.
Ah,
Hey y'all.
this is Carrie. We didn't really show her face.
I know. We always start the video and then I'm like leaning into the camera. And she's like, I'm not switched yet.
All we can see is your spiky blonde hair. Oh, mine is
I know.
oil. Okay.
Oh,
Beautiful.
that's hard
Robin.
to do because I had a lot of like layering and you had to. You didn't
Wow,
know.
Robin's is beautiful.
Yeah, look at that one. That's like a dark and like a darker and
Robin O'Connor.
yeah.
That is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Good job, you guys.
Thank you all so much for sharing.
Oh, I love it. These look so good.
And take a picture and send it to me, please. I love getting photos.
Good job, you guys. I'm so impressed.
Perfect. Thanks for coming tonight. We'll probably
Hopefully
run
see you
it
at the next
for
one,
maybe
yeah.
1 or 2 more minutes, and then keep.
This was the first one I've been invited to, so if I hear more, I will be here.
Oh,
Cool.
perfect. Okay.
We'd love to see you.
How did you get it by email? How did you hear
Yeah,
about it?
yeah, it was in the email.
Oh, okay. Perfect. All right. That's good to know.
Wow.
Yeah, you
Cool.
can always sign up for our alerts and stuff. So
Yes. Super impressed with you guys. I love that like you guys took it into your own medium, and like I did not.
Yeah,
Think
we've
people
had-
would be doing all sorts of types. so
We've had
that's
a
cool.
digital, we've had
Okay.
digital paintings before too,
Yeah.
so. That's right, we've had crayons, we've had markers.
Technology hates me, so I'm terrible at the electronic type. I'd rather get my hands dirty. It's
So
definitely a skill. So
Well, I like watercolor too, so this was a challenge.
yeah.
But,
Well, especially because
but,
my instructions were not built for watercolors. So you had to be very
Right,
creative.
and I thought, no, I'm gonna follow her like a good student. It was wonderful. It was
I'm so
wonderful.
glad you guys had fun.
Perfect.
And yes, so many talented people. It's wonderful.
Amazing. Yeah.
It is. We'll be doing more landscapes.
I better get a fan brush.
Yeah. They're wonderful. Once you get
I
it,
see
never go
that.
back.
I have
it's
never
so much fun.
used one. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're a blast. You can kind of make your own out of some old ratty ones, but getting the legit thing.
I had this, I don't even know where I got this brush. You see it? It's like 2 inches long. Where's my camera? It's like
Oh,
yeah,
an
yeah.
inch and a half
Yeah,
long.
scribe
see?
brush. Yeah. I
And-
love scribe brushes. They're great.
So that's what I used to try to make all those little, anyway, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And hope we can do something again. And,
Yeah.
and that wonderful learning thing about the refuge.
Oh,
Fabulous.
perfect. It's an,
Very good. Thank you.
is there an actual photo of this scenery?
Yeah, I wondered about that.
I think she kind of,
I kind of had to combine a couple different pictures.
Okay, because I went
I mean, they were
online.
copyrighted, so I didn't want to like.
Well, I went on, well, as long as
So-
you do your own thing. But I went
Yeah,
online to see more pictures of the place and I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, this is okay.
beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. I kind of had to combine a couple different things just so that I wasn't copying anyone's work and all that sort of stuff. So
perfect. Well,
Okay,
thanks.
until next time, thank you
Thank you.
again.
We'll
It
see you
was
next time.
wonderful.
bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.